3 minutes. Dangerous traps designed to make you poorer and poorer. Nobel Prize-winning economists Abhijit Banerjee and Esther Duflo are leading experts on global poverty. To understand why people fall into poverty and how to escape it, they spent 15 years studying poor groups in 18 countries and regions. The results show that people are often poor because they fall into a series of poverty traps. What's crueler is that these traps are almost designed to keep them in that state. First, the trash can trap, wasteful spending. Do you think the poor spend frugally to overcome difficulties? In reality, they often spend more lavishly than average people. Abhijit tells the story of Pak, a farmer in Indonesia. Pak was weak and unable to work to earn money, so he always lived in poverty. But when Abhijit visited his house, he was surprised to see many items like a TV, DVD player, mobile phone, tea, coffee, and sugar. These luxury items were in complete contrast to Pak's impoverished life. In the slums, there are many people like Pak. They are willing to accept the risk of eviction for not paying rent just to buy a 62-inch TV. They will eat instant noodles for 29 days just to have one lobster feast. Or they will buy anti-wrinkle cream but endure the freezing cold because they can't afford heating. No matter how much you advise them, the poor cannot resist the temptation to spend when they have a little money. They lack the ability to delay immediate gratification and thus fall into consumer traps designed by manufacturers. Recently, shopping malls make a lot of money during holidays, and flower shops are endlessly busy. But right after the holiday, trash cans are full of discarded gifts like fresh flowers, stuffed animals, lipsticks, and perfumes. Such trash can traps are everywhere in life. Have you noticed that almost any holiday is turned by businesses into an occasion to promote shopping? Just by watching a few short videos, you accidentally order a few items. You think you'll save money on Singles Day, but end up adding many unplanned items to your cart. Manufacturers are very good at creating three things: creating demand out of thin air, dividing social structure through consumer goods, and finding ways to accelerate your consumption speed. From the first milk tea of autumn, a trip you owe yourself, to a once-in-a-lifetime lavish wedding, manufacturers are always looking for ways to empty your wallet. When you consume according to trends without realizing it, that's when you start walking the path of poverty.
3 minutes. The pleasure trap, tittytainment. In the 1990s, as labor productivity increased and competition became fiercer, the wealth gap and social polarization in the U.S. became a major issue. To keep the poor from revolting, U.S. National Security Advisor Zbigniew Brzezinski proposed the tittytainment theory, a hypothesis about keeping the poor sedated with entertainment. He suggested that 80% of the marginalized population could be given a nipple, or a pacifier. This pacifier could be forms of instant gratification entertainment, like the adult industry, games, or mass entertainment shows like TV dramas, reality shows, etc. Just provide the poor with continuous pleasures, and they will be sucked in and forever immersed in it, unable to escape on their own, and will remain stuck at the bottom of society. Have you ever experienced this feeling? When studying in the library for not long, you feel itchy and can't help but pull out your phone to play a few games. Or just after starting work, you get attracted by pushed short videos and accidentally surf the net for an hour. Without realizing it, you have lost your focus and precious time. Time and focus are the most valuable things in this era. While we are captivated by computer and TV screens, the wealthy are gradually moving away from online life. Before we dive deeper, don't forget to subscribe to the channel to learn more truths about money and help you quickly achieve financial freedom. The Art of Wealth welcomes you all. Steve Jobs, the founder of Apple, limited the use of technology products for his children at home. Game designers also stay away from games like World of Warcraft. Many heads of companies in Silicon Valley never touch electronic devices after work. Psychologist Adam Alter once frankly shared that makers of high-tech products seem to follow the #1 rule of drug dealers. They never get high on their own supply. Because they, the people at the top of society, understand better than anyone that the consequence of drowning in short-term pleasure has only one outcome: amusing ourselves to death. Third, the rat race trap. In a small town in California, there was a young man who loved writing and was determined to become a famous novelist. Every day he wrote without missing any opportunity, but book sales were not very promising. He went to church to ask the priest, "Why do I toil writing day and night, but my work shows no progress?"
3 minutes. The priest didn't answer immediately, but asked back, "What do you do in the morning?" He replied, "I write novels." The priest asked again, "What about noon?" He replied, "Also writing novels." The priest continued, "What about the afternoon?" Hearing this, the young man started to lose patience. "I spend all my time in the day, except eating and sleeping, writing novels." The priest replied, "Then when do you spend time thinking?" The situation of this young man is like a rat in a wheel, running frantically trying to reach the cheese hanging overhead, but ultimately just spinning in one place and never arriving. Hard-working and toiling, but the results are not as expected. Day after day, the busyness repeats like running on an endless rat race track, getting sucked into the poverty spiral. The busier, the poorer. The poorer, the busier. There is a saying that sounds bitter. If simply being busy was useful, the richest person in the world right now would be a donkey pulling a millstone. What makes your work valuable is not the level of busyness, but the depth of thought. Author Li Shanglong used to work as a teacher at New Oriental. After working for a while, he asked his leader permission not to teach on weekends and evenings, even though it meant his income would decrease by 4,000 to 5,000 yuan per month. While colleagues were busy teaching extra classes to earn money, Li Shanglong stayed home, reading, watching movies, reflecting, and writing. When the education and training industry declined, many colleagues were either unemployed or had to change careers. Meanwhile, he had prepared beforehand and found himself a new direction, opening a company and writing books, earning millions of yuan per year. Li Shanglong was busy, but not pointlessly busy. He concluded, no matter how busy you are, you should set aside time to think about whether there is a better way or a newer direction. If you keep burying your head in work and forget to look up at the sky, you are very likely to fall into the pit of poverty. A person too busy with trivial things and lazy to think will certainly fall into mediocrity. Learning new knowledge, improving skills, making long-term career plans, and escaping low-quality efforts are the keys to breaking the vicious cycle of life. Fourth, the Shawshank Trap, comfort zone. Recently, I rewatched the classic movie The Shawshank Redemption and felt moved by the fate of the character Brooks. This movie not only tells a touching story about hope and perseverance, but also profoundly reveals a human adversity that few notice.
3 minutes. Brooks, the prison librarian who had served over 50 years in prison. Every day he just did simple work, pushing the book cart around the prison, recording the names of borrowers. This job was light, stable, giving Brooks a sense of satisfaction, as if he had found the meaning and value of life. But this very satisfaction became invisible handcuffs, binding Brooks within a framework he didn't even realize. He considered this job his lifelong career and never thought of leaving it until the day of his release arrived. When stepping out, the outside world became strange and scary to Brooks. The busy traffic on the streets terrified him. The skyscrapers suffocated him. The modern world changed too fast compared to the prison life Brooks was used to, becoming a huge challenge. When he was assigned to work at a supermarket, the situation got worse. Brooks' slow movements due to old age made customers constantly complain. He lived in stress, not even sleeping peacefully. Finally, Brooks couldn't take it anymore and chose to end his life just 1 year after being released. This story realistically portrays the so-called Shawshank Trap. People accustomed to living in constraint and dependency, when stepping into freedom, feel they cannot adapt. As the famous quote in the movie goes, "These walls are funny. First you hate them, then you get used to them. Enough time passes, you get so you depend on them." This quote reveals the nature of the Shawshank Trap. We often don't realize we are stuck in a comfort zone, leading to losing the ability to face changes and challenges in real life. These invisible prisons appear everywhere. It could be a job so stable it makes you lose the desire to progress, or a skill you rely on for so long that you become emotionally numb. Over time, you easily accept it and even feel satisfied with that comfort. But once a small change occurs, you will discover that you are weak and do not have enough strength to withstand fluctuations. At that time, the wall that previously gave you a sense of safety becomes a cage, locking you in tight. An ancient saying goes, "Change leads to success. No change leads to mediocrity. Change leads to prosperity. No change leads to decline. Change leads to life. No change leads to death." Emphasizing the importance of change. Only by constantly changing can we adapt to the volatile world and face every challenge firmly.
3 minutes. Therefore, we must always be vigilant against the existence of the Shawshank Trap. We must actively step out of our comfort zone, dare to accept new challenges, learn new skills, expand our own capability limits. Only then can we escape the state of being imprisoned in our own comfort and continue moving forward on the path of life. Remember, the other side of the comfort zone is the danger zone. When we depend too much on a comfortable state of living, we don't realize we have lost the ability to cope with changes. Therefore, keep yourself curious, enthusiastic about learning, daring to try new things, and constantly challenging yourself. If you feel you are falling into a trap like Shawshank, try stepping out. Perhaps the outside world will make you feel strange, even scary, but believe that that discomfort and fear are signs of growth. Every challenge is an opportunity for development. Every change can bring unexpected results. Let's look at a study from Boston University. Boston University once conducted a very simple but extremely interesting experiment, revealing an important principle about change in human behavior. In this experiment, participants were asked to set an alarm for 6 a.m., but were divided into 2 groups. The first group was asked to place the alarm on the desk, while the second group was assigned to place the alarm right next to the bed. This seemingly very small difference led to completely different results. After 2 weeks, the results of the experiment were surprising. Most people in the first group had formed the habit of waking up early, while the second group hardly changed their average wake-up time. This result reveals an important principle in psychology. When the alarm rings, humans often reflexively turn off the alarm and continue sleeping in. But if the alarm clock is placed far away, they have to get out of the warm bed, and this action is enough to break the inertia, helping them easily start a new day. This experiment result relates to the Shawshank Trap in that both emphasize one thing: immersing in comfort does not bring development. If not stepping out of the comfort zone, we will forever mark time in place. Although the process of change may be accompanied by discomfort, just taking one important step, we will be able to constantly renew ourselves and head towards a better version of ourselves.
3 minutes. This is like creating a small obstacle to force us to leave the comfort zone and start new challenges. However, relying solely on changes from the external environment is not enough. We also need to nurture a positive mindset and form good habits. As Zheng Guanfan said, hundreds of diseases are born from laziness. Laziness is the biggest enemy preventing us from developing and progressing. A person doesn't worry about lack of talent, lack of opportunity, nor fear having no benefactors, but only fears their own laziness. Because when someone is lazy, no one can help them stand up, and they imprison themselves in a bigger Shawshank trap, locked in their own small world. Zheng Guanfan also said, "A family fails because they cannot abandon luxury. A person fails because they cannot abandon leisure. One who makes people hate them cannot abandon arrogance." This quote profoundly points out the harm of laziness to a person's life. If accustomed to laziness, doing nothing or doing things superficially, in just a short time, the habit will become natural and they will no longer voluntarily develop, even not knowing what they are suitable for. The result is life becomes increasingly vague, even increasingly anxious and painful. Even when realizing the problem, many people still cannot change themselves. Because changing laziness, working harder, or facing things that might not bring immediate results often makes them feel afraid and resistant. They fear failure, fear having to face difficult reality. As educator and writer Makarenko once said, "Laziness is the root of all evil. Being lazy once is losing for a lifetime." The lazier a person is, the more they cannot mature. Like a person who doesn't receive energy from outside, but only continuously consumes themselves, soon they will feel exhausted, disappointed, painful, even desperate. When accustomed to laziness, it's like borrowing from life, borrowing more and more until unable to pay back anymore. As painter Xu Beihong said, "Laziness is an expensive luxury. When the payment deadline comes, you certainly won't be able to afford it." Therefore, quickly abandon the habit of laziness so you can stay away from poverty and helplessness. Only then can we truly control ourselves and master our lives. Besides overcoming laziness, we also need to improve our mindset. True foresight helps people have a broad view and great stature. Such people are ready to be the background for others and sacrifice themselves for the common interest. In the end, they not only win love from everyone, but also win their own lives.
3 minutes. Conversely, those who cannot stand seeing others succeed are actually refusing growth. They waste their energy and spirit uselessly. These people have narrow vision, shallow thinking, and childish mentality. They not only don't want to progress, but also want to pull others down, like to make things difficult and play dirty. Only when a person overcomes low-class thinking, doesn't do shallow things, doesn't act in a short-sighted way, can they slowly exploit their potential, focusing on self-training. This is a long and difficult process, requiring us to continuously strive and persevere. Like carving a sophisticated work of art, we need to carefully polish every aspect of ourselves, including accumulating knowledge, improving skills, developing intellect, and building character. Only when wholeheartedly improving ourselves can we see our progress and maturity. Over time, we will realize our vision is expanding. Opportunities and possibilities that were previously invisible now become clear. Our understanding of the world becomes deeper, and our attitude towards life becomes more generous. This transformation not only helps us seize opportunities and move towards success, but also keeps us from forgetting our initial goals, knowing how to help others. People of truly great stature always look further than others, think more thoroughly, and act more profoundly. They don't let temporary gains or losses affect their mood, nor are they easily swayed by others. Instead, they always keep a comprehensive and higher perspective to deal with everything. Foresight and thoroughness help them make wiser decisions, and their actions also easily win people's hearts. They are not discouraged by temporary failure, nor blinded by short-lived success. Instead, they always keep calm and rational, evaluating everything from a higher angle. As someone once said, when the vision becomes broad, complaints will decrease. When the heart becomes vast, the road will open up. When the stature is big enough,
problems will disappear. When our hearts are broad, we are no longer bothered by petty troubles. When our stature grows, problems that once seemed insurmountable will become extremely small. This change in mindset not only helps us avoid poor thinking and habits, but also makes our lives richer. We will find ourselves advancing further, climbing higher, and living stronger. We are no longer limited by narrow vision, but can demonstrate our talents in a wider world.
3 minutes. Notably, poverty is not a predetermined fate, but like a psychological state, a result of the way of thinking. No one is born destined to live in poverty unless they choose it themselves. When we actively escape the poverty trap, escape the ways of thinking and habits that hold back our development, we pave the way for our own prosperity and freedom. This process may not be easy, just like the first group in the Boston University experiment. We may need extra effort, experiencing discomfort, but it is these small changes and perseverance that will ultimately bring about great change. Every morning we defeat laziness. Every evening we persist in studying. Every time we overcome difficulties is accumulating energy for the future. Remember that change starts with thinking, and success comes from action. When we start changing our way of thinking, broadening our vision, and acting, we have started the journey to success and prosperity. This process may be full of challenges, but also full of opportunities and potential. Every step forward is the best investment in oneself. I hope that you and I can both avoid low-class thinking and embrace a broader vision on the path of life. Let's go further, live brilliantly, and finally realize our ideals and aspirations.